The doorbell rang at 2 a.m., a sharp, insistent chime that tore through the silence of my small apartment. I stumbled out of bed, heart pounding, half expecting a neighbor's emergency or a prankster kid. Instead, I opened the door to find my 7-year-old niece, Lily, standing alone, clutching a tattered backpack, her eyes wide with fear under the dim porch light. Lily. My voice cracked as I knelt to her level, scanning the empty street behind her. No car, no note, no sign of my sister, Claire, who'd been spiraling for years. I pulled Lily inside, her small body trembling as she whispered, "Mommy said she'd be back, but she didn't come." My name is Emma, and I'm no stranger to chaos. At 35, I'd built a quiet life as a freelance illustrator, content with my solitary routines and the occasional coffee date with friends. Claire, my older sister, had always been the storm to my calm wild. Unpredictable, chasing fleeting highs with men, parties, and promises she couldn't keep. I hadn't seen her in months, not since she'd borrowed money I knew I'd never see again. But this, leaving her daughter on my doorstep like an unwanted package. This was a new low, even for her. I wrapped Lily in a blanket, her small frame sinking into my couch. Her curly hair was matted, her clothes wrinkled, and her sneakers had holes in the toes. "Are you hungry?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She nodded, eyes darting around like she expected Claire to burst through the door. I made her a peanut butter sandwich, the only thing I had that a kid might eat, and sat beside her as she took tiny bites, her silence louder than any words. The next morning, I called Claire's phone, straight to voicemail. I tried her friends, her exes, anyone I could think of. Nothing. By noon, I was pacing my apartment, Lily coloring quietly at my kitchen table, her small hands gripping crayons like lifelines. I didn't know the first thing about raising a kid. My life was deadlines and sketches, not bedtime stories and school schedules. But as I watched Lily draw a shaky picture of a house with a smiling sun overhead, something in me shifted. She wasn't just Claire's daughter. She was mine now, to at least until I figured this out. I called my husband, David, who was away on a work trip. He listened quietly as I explained, his steady voice a lifeline across the miles. "We'll figure it out, Emma," he said. "Just keep her safe until I'm back tomorrow." David, always the optimist, believed in solutions where I saw only problems. But his calm gave me courage, and I hung up feeling like I could handle this, at least for a day. That night, I tucked Lily into my guest bed, her backpack clutched tight like a shield. "And Emma," she whispered, "will Mommy come back?" I froze, my throat tight. I wanted to promise her the world, to say Claire would waltz in with apologies and hugs. But I'd learned long ago not to trust my sister's promises. "I don't know, sweetheart," I said, brushing her hair back. "But you're safe here. I promise." The next day, David arrived, his presence filling the apartment with warmth. He knelt beside Lily, offering a gentle smile. "Hey, kiddo, want to help me make pancakes?" She hesitated, then nodded, and soon they were laughing over a bowl of batter, flour dusting their noses. Watching them, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe we could do this. Maybe we could be enough for her. But hope is a fragile thing. By the end of the week, I found a note in Lily's backpack, scrawled in Claire's messy handwriting. "I can't do this right now. Take care of her. I'll be back." No date, no explanation, just 6 words that turned my world upside down. I stared at the note, anger and fear twisting in my chest. Claire hadn't just left Lily. She'd abandoned her, and now I was left to pick up the pieces. Over the next few days, I tried to create a routine. I enrolled Lily in school, fumbling through paperwork and parent-teacher meetings. I bought her new clothes, replacing the worn ones she'd arrived with. Each step felt like a leap into the unknown, but Lily's small smiles rare, but precious kept me going. She was a quiet kid, watchful, like she was waiting for the ground to shift again. I couldn't blame her. I felt it too. One night, as I tucked her in, she handed me a drawing, two stick figures holding hands under a bright yellow sun. "That's you and me," she said, her voice soft but sure. Tears stung my eyes. I'd spent years building walls around my heart, protecting myself from Claire's chaos. But Lily, she was breaking those walls down, one crayon stroke at a time. By the end of the first month, I was exhausted but determined. David and I were a team, juggling work and parenting with clumsy grace. We'd turned the guest room into Lily's space, painting it a soft blue she'd picked out. She started talking more, laughing even, her guarded eyes softening day by day. But every night, I lay awake, wondering where Claire was, if she'd ever come back, and what I'd do if she did. Then, one evening, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I'm coming for Lily. Don't get too comfortable." My heart stopped. Claire. She was alive, and she was coming back. But after everything, could I trust her? And more importantly, could Lily? The text from Claire sat like a stone in my gut. I stared at the screen, the words "I'm coming for Lily" burning into my mind. Part of me wanted to believe she'd changed, that she'd show up sober, stable, ready to be the mother Lily deserved. But the larger part, the part that had cleaned up Claire's messes for years, knew better. I didn't tell Lily about the message. She was finally settling in, her laughter filling our apartment as she and David played board games on the living room floor. I couldn't bear to disrupt that fragile peace. Instead, I called David into the kitchen, showing him the text. His jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "We need to be ready, Emma. For anything." "Ready for what?" I snapped, my fear spilling over. For her to waltz in and take Lily back to whatever mess she's in. Or for her to disappear again and break Lily's heart all over. David pulled me into a hug, his steady presence anchoring me. "We'll protect her," he said, "no matter what." The next day, I contacted a lawyer. I wasn't sure what rights I had, but I needed to know. The lawyer, a kind woman named Sarah, explained that without formal guardianship, Claire could reclaim Lily at any time. My stomach churned. What if she's not fit to parent? I asked. Sarah's eyes softened. You'd need evidence: neglect, substance abuse, something concrete. Do you have anything? I thought of Claire's history, the late night calls begging for money, the times I'd found her passed out in her apartment, the way Lily's clothes were always too small when I saw her. But evidence. I had nothing solid, just memories and a crumpled note. Sarah suggested I start documenting everything: Lily's condition when she arrived, the lack of contact from Claire, even the text. Build a case, she said, just in case. Days turned into weeks, and Claire didn't show. Her text hung over me like a storm cloud, but I threw myself into making Lily's life stable. We established a routine: breakfast together, school drop-offs, evenings spent drawing or reading. Lily was thriving, her teachers praising her creativity and resilience. But every time she smiled, I saw Claire's face in hers, and the fear crept back. What if I was just a placeholder? One afternoon, I took Lily to the park. She ran ahead, her curls bouncing as she climbed the slide. I sat on a bench, sketching her in my notebook, when a shadow fell over me. I looked up to see a woman gaunt, with hollow cheeks and Claire's green eyes. My heart stopped. Claire. She looked older than her 38 years, her hair stringy, her clothes wrinkled. Hey, Em, she said, her voice hoarse. Miss me? I stood, my sketchbook falling to the ground. Where the hell have you been? I hissed, glancing at Lily, who hadn't noticed her yet. Claire shrugged, lighting a cigarette with shaking hands. Around. Needed to sort some stuff out. Sort stuff out. My voice rose, drawing stares from other parents. You left your daughter on my doorstep. Claire. No call. No warning. Nothing. She flinched, but didn't meet my eyes. I'm here now. Aren't I? I want her back. I stepped closer, my hands trembling. You think you can just show up and take her? After 3 months of silence. Look at her. I pointed to Lily, who was laughing with another kid. She's happy. She's safe. Can you say the same? Claire's eyes darted to Lily, and for a moment, I saw something break in her flicker of shame. Maybe. Or regret. But then her face hardened. She's my daughter. Emma. Not yours. Before I could respond, Lily's voice cut through. Mommy. She stood frozen, her eyes wide, the joy draining from her face. Claire knelt, arms open, but Lily didn't move. She looked at me, then back at Claire, her small body rigid with confusion. Sweetie, it's okay, Claire said, her voice too bright, too forced. I'm back now. Lily took a step toward me, her hand finding mine. And Emma, she whispered, and my heart shattered. I knelt beside her, keeping my voice steady. It's okay, Lily. We're just talking. That night, Claire followed us home, insisting on staying. I let her sleep on the couch, but I locked Lily's door and mine. David stayed up, watching the living room like a guard dog. We can't let her take Lily, I whispered to him in bed, my voice shaking. Not like this. I know, he said, his hand squeezing mine. But we need to be smart. For Lily. The next morning, Claire was gone. No note. No goodbye. Just an empty couch and a cigarette butt on the coffee table. I should have been relieved. But all I felt was dread. She'd be back. And when she came, I had to be ready not just for me, but for the little girl who'd started calling me home. Claire's brief appearance left a crack in our fragile stability. Lily was quieter after that day, her drawings darker, filled with stormy clouds instead of bright suns. I caught her staring out the window, as if expecting Claire to appear again. And each time, my heart ached for the uncertainty she carried. I doubled down on documenting everything. I saved Claire's text, photographed the cigarette, but she'd left, and wrote detailed notes about her disheveled state at the park. I called Sarah, the lawyer, who urged me to file for temporary guardianship. It's not permanent, she said, but it'll give you legal standing if Claire tries to take her. The process was daunting: court dates, social worker visits, stacks of paperwork, but I couldn't risk losing Lily. David and I took turns reassuring her. You're not going anywhere, he told her one evening as they built a Lego castle. She smiled, but her eyes stayed guarded. I hated Claire for that, for stealing the light from her daughter's face. But I also hated the part of me that still hoped my sister could change. Weeks passed without a word from Claire. I started to believe she'd vanished for good, but I couldn't shake the feeling she was lurking, waiting to disrupt our lives again. I enrolled Lily in art classes, hoping creativity would help her heal. She loved them, her small hands wielding paintbrushes with a confidence I envied. One day, she brought home a painting of 3 figures holding hands: her, me, and David. My family, she said softly, and I had to turn away to hide my tears. Then, one chilly morning, a social worker named Maria arrived for a home visit. She was warm but thorough, asking about Lily's routine, her school, her emotional state. She's doing well, Maria said, flipping through her notes. But we've had a report of concern from a family member, someone claiming to be her mother. My blood ran cold. Claire? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Maria nodded. She contacted our office, saying she wants custody. She claims she's stable now, living with a partner who can provide for Lily. I gripped the edge of the table, my mind racing. Stable? Claire? The woman who'd left her daughter on my doorstep without a word. What happens now? I asked, forcing my voice to stay calm. We'll investigate, Maria said. We'll visit her, assess her situation, But Emma, you need to be prepared. If she proves she's fit, the court will likely favor her as the biological parent. That night, I couldn't sleep. David held me as I cried, my fears spilling out. What if they take her? David, what if Claire's just pretending to be okay? He didn't have answers, but his arms around me were enough to keep me from falling apart. The next day, I drove to the address Claire had given the social worker. It was a rundown apartment complex, the kind of place Claire always ended up. I knocked, half expecting no one to answer, but a man opened the door, tall, mid-40s, with a charming smile that didn't reach his eyes. You must be Emma, he said, stepping aside. Claire's told me about you. Claire was on the couch, looking cleaner than before, but still fragile, like a glass about to shatter. She said, standing. Meet Tom. He's helping me get back on my feet. Tom extended a hand, but I didn't take it. Where's Lily going to sleep? I asked, scanning the cramped apartment. One bedroom, a sagging couch, beer cans on the counter. This was her stable life. We'll figure it out, Claire said, her voice defensive. Tom's got a good job. We're moving to a bigger place soon. I wanted to scream, to shake her until she saw what she was doing to Lily. Instead, I said, she's happy with us. Claire, she's safe. Can you really give her that? Claire's eyes flashed with anger. You think you're better than me. You're not her mom. Emma. I am. I left before I said something I'd regret. But Tom's smirk stayed with me, a warning of trouble to come. When I got home, Lily was waiting, her eyes bright with a new drawing. Look, Aunt Emma. It's us at the beach. I hugged her tight, vowing to fight for her, no matter what it took. The court date was set for a month later. Sarah helped me prepare, gathering statements from Lily's teachers and therapists about her progress. But the fear gnawed at me. What if Claire's charm fooled the judge? What if Lily was torn from us, only to be hurt again? The weeks before the court date were a blur of anxiety and preparation. I threw myself into making Lily's life as normal as possible. But the threat of Claire's return loomed over every moment. Lily sensed it. Tush started waking up from nightmares, calling for me instead of her mother. Each time, I held her until she fell back asleep, her small hand clutching mine, and I wondered how I'd ever let her go. Sarah, our lawyer, was relentless, helping me compile evidence, photos of Lily's worn clothes from the night she arrived, her school records showing her improvement, even a letter from her therapist about her fear of abandonment. But Claire was fighting back. Maria, the social worker, told me Claire had enrolled in a rehab program and was attending parenting classes. She's making an effort, Maria said, her tone neutral but firm. The court will take that seriously. David and I decided to meet Claire and Tom again, hoping to gauge their intentions. We invited them to a neutral Spoda coffee shop near the park. Claire arrived looking polished, her hair neat, her clothes pressed. Tom was at her side, his charm dialed up. But I noticed the way his hand lingered on Claire's arm. Possessive, controlling. It set my nerves on edge. We want what's best for Lily, Claire said, sipping her coffee. I've messed up, Emma. I know. But I'm clean now. I'm ready to be her mom again. I studied her, searching for the sister I'd once idolized. The one who'd taught me to ride a bike and snuck me candy when our parents weren't looking. But that Claire was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. Why now? I asked. Why not 3 months ago, when you left her on my doorstep? Claire flinched, but Tom jumped in. She was in a bad place. Emma, I'm helping her get stable. We've got plans a new apartment, a good school for Lily. Plans aren't a home, I said, my voice sharp. Lily needs more than promises. The conversation went nowhere, both sides digging in. Claire insisted she was ready. I insisted Lily was better off with us. By the end, Tom's charm had faded, his eyes cold as he said, This isn't over. Emma, Lily's coming home with us. That night, I found Lily curled up in her room, clutching the drawing of us at the beach. And Emma, she whispered, do I have to go with Mommy? I knelt beside her, my heart breaking. I'm doing everything I can to keep you here. I said, you're my family, too. The court date arrived like a storm. David and I sat in the courtroom, Lily with a social worker in another room to spare her the tension. Claire and Tom were there, looking like a perfect couple, her hand resting on his arm. Sarah presented our case, Lily's stability with us, her progress, Claire's history of neglect. But Claire's lawyer countered with her rehab records, Tom's steady job, and their commitment to Lily. The judge, a stern woman with sharp eyes, listened carefully. When Claire took the stand, she cried, her voice trembling as she described her struggle with addiction and her desire to make things right. I wanted to believe her, but I'd heard her promises before. Tom testified next, painting a rosy picture of their future with Lily. But when Sarah cross-examined him, his story cracked, couldn't name Lily's favorite book or explain how they'd manage her therapy. Then it was my turn. I spoke from the heart, describing the night Lily arrived, her fear, her growth, the family we'd become. I'm not her mother, I said, my voice shaking, but I love her like she's mine. She deserves stability, not uncertainty. The judge adjourned, promising a decision within days. I left the courtroom feeling hollow, David's hand in mine the only thing keeping me grounded. That night, Lily crawled into our bed, her small body nestled between us. I want to stay with you, she whispered, and I held her tight, praying the court would see what I saw, a little girl who needed us as much as we needed her. The waiting was torture. Each day felt like a lifetime, the judge's decision hanging over us like a guillotine. I kept Lily close, filling our days with school projects and trips to the library, anything to distract her from the uncertainty. But her questions grew sharper. Will Mommy take me away? Will I see you again? I answered with half-truths, promising to fight for her. But inside, I was unraveling. David was my rock, his optimism unwavering even as I spiraled. We've done everything we can, he said one night, rubbing my shoulders as I stared at the ceiling. The judge saw the truth. We have to trust that. But trust was hard when Claire's shadow loomed so large. 3 days after the hearing, Maria called. The judge has made a decision, she said. Can you come to the courthouse tomorrow? My stomach dropped. I wanted to ask for a hint, a clue, but Maria's tone was neutral, professional. I hung up, my hands shaking, and told David. He pulled me into a hug, whispering, whatever happens, we're in this together. The next morning, we arrived at the courthouse, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Claire and Tom were already there, her face pale, his jaw set. The judge entered, her expression unreadable, and began to speak. She outlined Lily's need stability, emotional security, a nurturing environment. Then she turned to Claire. Ms. Thompson, your efforts to address your addiction are commendable, she said. But your history of instability and the lack of a concrete plan for Lily's care raised concerns. My breath caught. Was this hope? The judge continued, looking at me. Ms. and Mr. Carter, you've provided Lily with a stable, loving home. The court grants you temporary guardianship for 6 months, pending further review. Relief flooded me, so intense I nearly collapsed. David squeezed my hand, tears in his eyes. Claire's face crumpled, but Tom pulled her close, whispering something I couldn't hear. The judge warned that Claire could petition for custody again if she proved her stability. But for now, Lily was ours. We didn't tell Lily right away. Instead, we took her for ice cream, letting her chatter about school and her new art project. That night, as we tucked her in, I said, Lily, you're staying with us for a while longer. Is that okay? Her smile was brighter than the sun in her drawings. "Forever?" she asked, and I laughed through tears. "For now, sweetheart. For now." But the victory was bittersweet. Claire called the next day, her voice thick with tears. "You stole her from me, Emma," she said. "I'm trying to be better." I wanted to scream, to remind her of the nights I'd spent mopping up her messes. But instead, I said, "Then prove it, Claire. For Lily." Weeks passed, and life settled into a new rhythm. Lily's nightmares faded, replaced by giggles and bedtime stories. David and I started talking about the future adoption. Maybe, if Claire couldn't pull herself together. But the fear lingered. Claire was out there, and I knew she wouldn't give up easily. Then, one evening, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside was a single page in Claire's handwriting. "I'm going to rehab. For real this time. Not for you. Not for the court, for Lily. Don't count me out. Emma." My heart twisted. Was this another empty promise? Or a glimmer of the sister I'd lost? I showed the letter to David, who read it silently, then set it down. "What do you think?" he asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I hope she means it." Lily's 8th birthday was a week later. We threw a small party, just us and a few of her school friends. She blew out her candles, her eyes sparkling, and I realized how much she'd changed in 3 months. She was no longer the scared girl on my doorstep. She was ours, in every way that mattered. But as I watched her laugh, a part of me braced for the next storm. Claire's letter was a reminder, this wasn't over. Not yet. Lily's birthday marked a turning point, a moment where hope felt stronger than fear. She was thriving, her grades were up. Her art teacher called her a natural, and her laughter filled our home like music. But Claire's letter lingered in my mind, a quiet promise or threat, depending on the day. I kept in touch with Sarah, who advised me to stay vigilant. "Temporary guardianship is a start," she said, but Claire could come back with a stronger case. "Keep documenting everything." So I did, noting every milestone in Lily's life, every smile, every step toward healing. It felt like building a fortress, brick by brick, to protect her. David and I started exploring adoption, a daunting but hopeful prospect. We met with a family counselor, who helped us navigate the emotional weight of raising a child who wasn't legally ours. "Lily's bonded with you," the counselor said, "but she'll always carry her mother's absence. Be patient with her grief." I nodded, but the words hit hard. I wanted to erase Claire's shadow, but I knew I couldn't, not completely. One afternoon, Lily came home with a school project, a family tree. She'd drawn me and David at the top, herself below, and a small, faint branch labeled Mommy. I stared at it, my throat tight. "Do you miss her?" I asked, sitting beside her. "Sometimes," she said, her voice small, "but I like it here better." She hugged me, and I held her close, vowing to be the steady ground she needed. Then, one crisp fall morning, Maria called. "Claire's requested a supervised visit," she said. "She's been in rehab for 6 weeks, and her counselor says she's making progress. The courts approved it." My heart sank. A visit wasn't custody, but it was a crack in the wall we'd built. I agreed, knowing I had no choice, but dread pooled in my stomach. The visit was scheduled at a community center, a neutral space with toys and bright walls. David and I sat in the corner, watching as Claire walked in, looking healthier than I'd ever seen her. Her hair was shiny, her eyes clear, and she carried a small gift bag. Lily hesitated, then ran to her, and Claire's face lit up as she hugged her daughter. They played for an hour, Claire asking about school, Lily showing her a drawing. It was almost normal, almost beautiful, but I saw the tension in Lily's shoulders, the way she glanced at me for reassurance. When the visit ended, Lily clung to my hand, and Claire's smile faltered. "I'm trying, Lily," she said. "I'll see you soon." "Okay." In the car, Lily was quiet. Was that okay? I asked, glancing at her in the rearview mirror. She nodded, then said, I don't want to live with her. I want to stay with you. My eyes stung, but I smiled. We're working on that, sweetheart. That night, I called Sarah, my voice shaking. What if Claire's really changing? What if the court thinks she's ready? Sarah was calm but firm. Then we fight harder. Lily's stability comes first. Over the next few weeks, Claire had more visits, each one supervised, each one leaving Lily a little more confused. I hated seeing her torn between love for her mother and fear of losing us. David and I doubled down, making every moment with her count movie nights, baking cookies, trips to the zoo. But the question hung over us, what if Claire won? Then, one evening, my phone rang. It was Maria. Emma, we have a problem, she said. Claire's left rehab. She didn't show for her last session, and her counselor can't reach her. My heart sank, but a small, shameful part of me felt relief. If Claire was slipping, it strengthened our case. But at what cost to Lily? I didn't tell her right away. Instead, I tucked her in, reading her favorite story until she fell asleep. As I watched her, I realized something. I wasn't just fighting for Lily. I was fighting for the family we'd become, the one I hadn't known I needed until she walked into our lives. Claire's disappearance from rehab was a blow, but not a surprise. I'd hoped foolishly, maybe that she'd stay the course, for Lily's sake if not her own. But as days turned to weeks with no word from her, I felt a strange mix of relief and guilt. Relief that our case for guardianship was stronger. Guilt that I was rooting against my own sister. Lily asked about her mother less often, but I saw the questions in her eyes. I kept her busy with school, art classes, and weekends with David, who'd become her biggest cheerleader. He taught her to ride a bike, his patience endless as she wobbled down the sidewalk. And I watched them, my heart swelling with love and fear. This life we'd built was precious, but it felt like it could slip away any moment. Sarah called with good news. The court had extended our temporary guardianship for another 6 months, citing Claire's failure to complete rehab. This buys you time, she said, but don't let your guard down. I didn't. I kept documenting, kept building our case, kept loving Lily with everything I had. One evening, as winter settled in, Lily came to me with a question. "And Emma," she said, her voice small, "can I call you Mom?" I froze. My heart caught between joy and sorrow. I knelt beside her, brushing her curls back. "You can call me whatever feels right," I said, "but I'll always be here, no matter what." She hugged me, her small arms fierce, and I knew then that we were more than a temporary family. We were hers, and she was ours, in a way that went beyond biology or court orders. Months later, a letter arrived from Claire. She was in a new rehab program. She wrote, and she wanted to see Lily again. But this time, she didn't demand custody. "I know I've hurt her," she wrote. "I'm not ready to be her mom yet. But I want to try. One day. Please don't hate me. Emma." I read the letter again and again, torn between anger and a flicker of hope. Maybe Claire could change. Maybe not. But for now, Lily was safe. We celebrated Christmas as a family, Lily's laughter filling the house as she opened gifts. David and I exchanged looks, knowing we'd fight for her as long as it took. The future was uncertain. Claire could return. The court could change its mind, but in that moment, we were enough. One night, as I tucked Lily in, she handed me a new drawing, 3 figures under a starry sky, holding hands. "This is us," she said, her voice steady. "Forever." I kissed her forehead, tears in my eyes, and whispered, "Forever, sweetheart." Our lives had taken an unforeseen turn the night Lily arrived. But as I looked at her, I realized it was the best detour I'd ever taken. She wasn't just my niece. She was my daughter, in every way that mattered. and I'd spend the rest of my life proving it.